Hello everyone, my name is Vivek Sharma. I am a precision water management specialist in the Agriculture and Biological Engineering Department at University of Florida. The best management irrigation practices involve the selection and maintenance of appropriate irrigation system for your crop. This include adjusting the irrigation method, irrigation scheduling, irrigation amounts to maximize irrigation application and crop water use efficiency based upon monitoring of various parameters like soil and plant characteristics or weather parameters. At the same time, to reduce the contamination of water resources. So the main goal is to maintain both water and fertilizer in the crop root zone. Both irrigation management and fertilizer management are linked, and always go hand on hand. Many times I've been asked if there is a difference between the traditional and best management irrigation scheduling methods. My short answer is yes, definitely. Traditional methods includes like feeling the soil by hand or visually seeing the condition of the crop, personal calendar schedule, or just following the neighbor irrigation schedule. All these practices involve some degree of experience, at the same time include guesswork. In general, my suggestion is to avoid these practices and adopt best management irrigation practices, including the use of soil moisture sensor or use the evapotranspiration based irrigation scheduling that account for plant soil characteristics and weather parameters. The soil moisture based irrigation scheduling includes the installation of soil moisture sensors in the crop root zone to monitor the change in the soil moisture status. There are many types of soil moisture sensors available in the market, which vary in their working principle, methods, and application or installation procedure. However, most of the commercially available soil moisture sensors are effective for irrigation scheduling. The evapotranspiration-based irrigation scheduling method, also known as the water balance approach or checkbook method, this method accounts for all the inputs and withdrawal of water from the soil, including precipitation, crop water use, irrigation applied, runoff, deep drainage, etc., to estimate the change in the soil water status in the crop root zone. This requires definitely, the knowledge of crop characteristics, soil characteristics, as well as weather parameters for appropriate calculation of the crop water use. I strongly suggest using the best management irrigation, methods, including the use of soil moisture sensors or the checkbook method. Producers generally, choose these scheduling methods which suits best for their need and the management capabilities. There are a lot of efforts going on to increase the adoption of these best management practices in the state of Florida. For example, in Florida, we started Florida Agriculture Soil Moisture Sensor Network. The main idea of this network is to lend the soil moisture sensor to interested producers and educate these producers as well as extension agents to increase the adoption of best management irrigation practices in the state of Florida, which can maximize, with the aim to maximize the crop water use efficiency and nutrient use efficiency, but at the same time reduce the contamination of water resources in the state of Florida. Another question that generally, I hear is, are the different irrigation practices suited for different type of crops? As I stated before, Florida is a home to many specialty and field crops which are dependent on irrigation, including field crops such as cotton or corn, peanut, and specialty crops such as strawberries, cucumber, tomatoes, watermelons, tree crops such as citrus, blueberries, etc. All these crops are managed differently and require different irrigation practices. For example, field crops such as corn and peanut mostly managed using the overhead sprinkler irrigation systems, such as center pivot irrigation system or lateral move irrigation system. Installing a soil moisture sensor or using the checkbook method is very effective in these cases. Other crops such as potatoes or cabbages, which are grown under seepage irrigation in the state of Florida, require the constant monitoring of water table. We can easily monitor using either a soil moisture sensor or a monitoring well, or using a simple floating device. Specialty crops such as strawberries, tomatoes, and watermelons, generally grown over a raised bed with plastic mulch and irrigated using the drip irrigation systems. These crops require the use of proper irrigation system design based upon the field topography, require the proper selection of drip tapes or micro irrigation systems based upon the crop water use in a specific growth stage of the crop. Another aspect of irrigation management in the state of Florida, especially for the specialty crops, is the use of irrigation for frost protection. This is very critical, especially in the winter months for crops such as strawberries and citrus. Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Science also have developed BMP manuals for different commodities for the state of Florida. These manuals contain best management practices, including irrigation management practices for different crops. I strongly recommend the use of these manuals for the adoption of best management irrigation practices in the state of Florida. Many times I've been asked, are there key barriers on implementing different irrigation practices, and how can farmer overcome that? It is important to note that the best management practices are there. It comes with benefits, but at the same time cost as well. For example, the control of water application can be achieved through irrigation system, can create higher yield, allow production of higher value crops, and potentially reduce some cost, production cost. But at the same time, there is additional cost involved in that in terms of installing and maintaining these systems that can present a barrier in the adoption of best management practices. I believe lack of technical fluency in using the irrigation technology also poses some challenge. I believe one of the important factors in Florida that play a major role in increasing the adoption of best management irrigation practices is the introduction of cost share programs. The main aim of cost share programs is to help the agriculture operation needing assistance with cost share. Florida Agriculture Soil Moisture Sensor Network. We have a STEP program, the Florida Stakeholder Engagement Program, which allow users or producers to use these best management practices in a risk-free environment in a competition-based approach. So there are many efforts are going on in increasing the adoption of best management practices in the state of Florida.
Thank you for watching. Please take 2 minutes and complete our survey. This helps us make more informative and engaging videos. You can access the survey through the QR code or by using the link in the description below.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching. Let's talk about Ag BMP video. My name is Yilin Zhuang. I'm the Water Resources Regional Specialized Agent in University of Florida IFAS Extension. So like I said, thank you so much for joining us on the Friday at Friday noon and watching this Let's Talk About BMP video. And today I have two undergraduate interns joining me on this lifetime. And Megan and Sarah here, actually, they are the brains of this short and very informative videos. They interviewed Dr. Sharma and produced this video. So let's welcome Megan and Sarah. So Megan and Sarah, would you like to do a quick introduction?
Sure. My name is Megan Bickle, and I'm a rising senior at UF. I have a health science major and a public health minor.
And I'm Sarah. I'm also a rising senior. I'm earning a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science.
So thank you so much, Megan and Sarah. I really enjoy watching this short and very engaging video. And like I said, it's a very informative. So some of our audience here, if you joined us last time, you probably already noticed this is the second video Megan and Sarah made. So the first one they made was about BMPs, just general information about BMPs, especially explained what BMPs are, what are some common myths and misunderstanding. So if you haven't watched that, I will put the link in the chat box. So highly encourage you to go back and I highly encourage you to go back and watch the first video. Sorry, I got distracted because I saw some comment coming in and just move my eyes to the side of the screen. Like I mentioned, the first one was about the general, like let's talk about the first one. Let's talk about the Ag BMP. It's very general what BMPs are, what are the common myths and misunderstanding. I did just drop the link in the chat box, but let's do a quick recap. So if you just put one sentence, how would you, and Sarah and Megan, that's a question for you. How would you define BMPs?
BMPs stand for Best Management Practices, and they're meant to promote environmental conservation while still having economic feasibility for farmers and producers.
Oftentimes it's achieved through nutrient uptake and efficiency of crops. Extensive research is conducted to understand different crops and how to make each of them more efficient.
Yeah, I think oftentimes people may have misunderstanding. I think you covered in the first episode the common misunderstanding here is it really economically feasible? So if we do BMP, will we lose profits? Or sometimes even think it will decrease yield, but just like you said, it's maintain or increase the yield without impacting the environment, water quality, water quantity, just to be more specific. So like I said, they made a very good video about gave a quick introduction of BMPs. If you haven't watched that, the link is in the chat box. We highly encourage you to watch it. And like I also show you here, it's our survey. We also will really appreciate it if you can take a few minutes and take the survey. Just tell us what you have learned and how we can improve for Let's Talk About Ag BMP series. And especially, we also want to hear from you. It's what topics you are particularly interested. So this survey, it's completely anonymous. It won't take you more than 5 minutes. If you're quick, just click all the yes. Probably it will only take you 2 minutes. So let me put the link in the chat box. So if you can, please take the survey for us. I also have another question here. It's for Sarah and Megan here. Because like I said, this was your second video. That was the second video you two made. What have you learned from this particular video?
For me personally,
I guess just to start off.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I just wanted to mention, because I saw a comment stating that they couldn't find the link in the description. That's more for YouTube. When we post the video, it'll be in the YouTube description, just to clear that confusion up. And then about learning about the video, it was more about the process, as we learned how to help distill information and hopefully make it more engaging, as we got some feedback, which was really helpful about how we weren't exactly clear in our message. and that it got kind of boring. Well, I still recommend please watch the video because it does have a lot of information in it. Hopefully this one is definitely more engaging and more fun and has a more distilled message that makes it more clear about what irrigation BMPs are.
I think my main takeaway from doing this interview with Dr. Sharma and making the video and everything is that it's a lot more complex than I had realized. Coming from public health science, I didn't really know too much about agriculture. And so I thought that, the sprinklers on the side of the road were what every farm used for everything. And that's just not true. So that was really interesting to learn about.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Sarah?
Yes, I learned that the irrigation is more for a crop because when I first learned about irrigation, the different types of irrigation, we just learned about in terms of efficiency. And so I took it to be, oh yes, everyone should just use drip irrigation. And then through this, I learned that's just not feasible, just logistically and economically. And then I realized that they do this research to find the best irrigation suited for the crops you grow.
Mm-hmm. Since you mentioned drip irrigation, would you like to explain what drip irrigation is?
Yeah, some people also know it as micro irrigation, and it's more of having essentially the drips of water go directly to the crop, and that's why it's the most efficient. I think it's around 90% efficiency so not much water is lost because it's going directly to the roots, and that helps, of course, prevent the water loss. And then you can conserve water, so you end up using less water. But then, of course, having the pipes going directly to the roots and trying to get it directly there is a lot of piping, I imagine.
Yeah, I think for drip irrigation, there are different types. I've seen they use just like hose. Even like for home, if you have a home garden, you can also use drip irrigation. I've seen some homeowners, they have the drip lines, just the tubes around the beds. And the drip irrigation, just like the name is dripping. So the water goes to the roots directly. Wish I had a picture here so I can show you what drip irrigation is. But I think if you search drip irrigation, you can find a bunch of pictures. Sort of like switch topic a little bit. Because I know Megan mentioned she didn't have a lot of agriculture background. So that really like you are not alone here. I think when we joined this project, none of us had extensive background of agriculture, but throughout the project, we find it's really interesting. It's just so related to our day-to-day life. So I would like to ask you another question here. It's from the first video and the second video you made. So again, if you haven't watched the first video, the link is in the chat box. Go watch it. It's very informative. But I can see you change your techniques of your video production. So I just want to learn, what have you learned between the first one and the second one? So how about you, Sarah? You go first.
Yes, I've learned that it's okay to ask more specific questions and to ask for a repeat of a question, because sometimes it takes a while to get all the information and sometimes it takes a longer conversation. Once you have that, you can then distill it to the finer points and then just let people know that way, because there could be a lot of different processes going on. And then if you want to cover all the different processes, it can be a bit of an information overload. So we tried to keep it more of just letting you know directly what is important for farmers and producers. And that way they have a key message that they can be able to take.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were also hoping that the graphics that came up on the screen and the titles and all those comments that we put up while Dr. Sharma is talking would just highlight the main points that you needed to take out, so that you didn't have to keep reversing the video and then keep going, so you could get all the information that you really wanted while you're just watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know for video production, it can be very time consuming. It's a creative work, because when you interview your subject expert, so it's a learning process for you. You have to digest all the information, and you have to understand the information first. Then you you illustrate the information in an engaging way. So I can see it's just all the work you put there. That's why I really appreciate you made that video. And again, I show the survey link here. if you have watched our video, please take the survey and tell us how we can improve that. And for our viewers here, I would like to let you know we are also open. Like we have time for answer your questions. So feel free to put any questions you have in the chat box. I also want to know from our audience here, how many of you are growing your own food? So if you do, please put it in the chat box. Let us know. So that's also the question I have for Sarah and Megan here. Are you growing your own food?
I would say student living, apartment living is not super conducive to growing food, but I am definitely getting ideas for when I have a house and a yard and all that kind of good stuff.
That's good. Probably we can make another video. It's how to like indoor food production. So I think a couple months ago, I saw a press release from North Florida. I believe it's North Florida REC. They have a whole trailer demonstrating indoor food production. So it's really interesting. So that's actually, don't feel bad. That's on my mind for so long. I want to grow my own food. So I'm still practicing. I've been with UFIFS Extension for 8 years. My green thumb is still not there. So how about you, Sarah? Are you growing your own food?
It was more my mom because she had a little garden, but it was mostly herbs and occasionally tomatoes. And we just used a hose to irrigate them. And I was always afraid of overwatering them because I did that once and caused them to die, and I felt really bad.
Yeah, I think it's you just brought up such a good point. Oftentimes we think plants need a lot of water, so end up with too much water. You can kill your plants or kill your crops. So that's a perfect tie back to our this episode. It's irrigation management. So how can you efficiently apply water to your crops? And that reminds me of the video Dr. Sharma mentioned two irrigation management or scheduling methods. One is evapotranspiration based scheduling. Another is soil moisture sensor based. Another is soil moisture based scheduling. So would you like to elaborate what these two methods are?
Yeah, the evaporation transpiration based soil moisture scheduling looks at the input and outgoing water to help you know like how much is actually in the soil, and they have lots of calculations and parameters for that. I know University of Florida has like a Florida Automated Weather Network called FAWN, where you can help learn about the incoming water for your area. And then of course the soil moisture sensoring scheduling is looking at your soil itself to like be like how much water is physically in your soil. So they both measure the amount of water in your soil, just the way they go about doing it is a bit different. And I suppose it depends on what kind of field and equipment you have with you.
So I just put a link because you mentioned the FAWN, Florida Automated Weather Network. I just put it there. So this is, you can find the precipitation and the evapotranspiration. So that's ET based. So for soil moisture based, it's just like the name it is. It's based on the soil moisture. So I think in the video, Dr. Sharma also mentioned University of Florida has the Florida Soil Moisture Network. So which I was trying to find a link. So far, I don't think they have built their own website yet. If you are interested in the Florida Soil Moisture Network, please contact me. So from the screen, you can see my email address. So feel free to email me. And if you have any suggestions, I think I choose the wrong screen. So if you have any suggestions, you can take the survey, or you can also just send me an email. We are always looking for more ideas and feedback. So with that, I really appreciate everyone joining us this noon for this Let's Talk About Ag BMP live stream, and I appreciate all the hard work Megan and Sarah put into this video. So please stay tuned. We have more Let's Talk About Ag BMP videos coming up. So with that, thank you again, everyone, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Bye.